What's good, everybody? I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla Channel, the place where black men can freely express themselves. Straight up, no chaser. What's good, everybody? I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla Channel, the place where black men can express themselves freely. Straight up, no chaser. Please make sure to share and to like the videos, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Well, today, what I would like to do is have a conversation about the white side of the red pill movement. Yeah, you got that right. The white side of the red pill movement and the white side of men's rights activism. You see, in particular, I want to talk about an individual who has a channel on YouTube called Studio Brule. Now, normally, I believe that this person and this channel provides some really good content. But after having seen a recent video, I'm beginning to realize just how warped some of the white people who are part of the red pill movement, just how warped their understanding is about what is transpiring and what responsibility white men bear for all of what is transpiring as it pertains to feminism and the decline of men's rights. In the end, my case is going to be that white men really can't blame anyone but themselves. So what I'm going to do is play a few clips from a recent video I saw from the person who moderates this channel, and then I'm going to follow up with my commentary.
Hello, friends of Studio Brule. This is Steve Brule, and it is coffee time. Time when I go over some of the things that have come across my desk since the last coffee break, which was several days ago at this point. As you can see, I have my patriarchy card on display. I'm a VIP club member, and that authorizes me to comment on all the carryings on and goings on of the evil feminist empire, which has spread its evil tentacles all the way around the world, and thousands upon thousands of very well-funded organizations, many of whom are behind the Black Lives Matter and Antifa movement. By the way, the feminist movement is the mother of Black Lives Matter and Antifa. They share ideological similarities too striking to ignore, and many of the members of Black Lives Matter and Antifa, if not all of the members of Black Lives Matter and Antifa, are feminists. They're radical feminists. They have been preaching for destroy capitalism, to kill all men and reduce the population of men, and for men to get out of the way and give women power for everything. And feminism has opened their umbrella branch to include everything and anything that could be described as not male and not white. Feminism is a hate movement. There is no other way to describe feminism. It is a globally organized, well-funded hate movement, and it has a purpose. The purpose is to support the goals of the very wealthy and the very powerful in the world. And of course, the very wealthy and the very powerful are not at risk from women. They are at risk from ambitious, competitive, competent men. And feminism serves very strongly to keep them at bay, to pull the ladders out beneath them. The show today is going to be on, well, the title is Your Silence is Not Enough. This is the rise of Stalinism, of Marxism, of totalitarianism on the backs, well, pushed forward by BLM and Antifa. Today, almost every single hour or every single 10 minutes lately, something new transpires or some new development comes out around these rioters, these terrorists. And Trump has identified them exactly as domestic terrorists. It's about time. Most of us here in the Red Pill community and the MRA community knew that Antifa and BLM were domestic terrorists a long, long time ago. I've faced them at Janice's lectures at university campuses, and I've faced both BLM and Antifa there. They are nothing but small-minded, bigoted, hateful terrorists. Losing friends, anybody who's supporting BLM, rioters, terrorists, feminists, or Antifa, they're all the same group of people. I'm not going to mourn losing them. But I did say on a comment stream to someone who was all about BLM and talking them up as if this was some kind of righteous moment, I said, I'm never going to kneel to BLM or Antifa. They're domestic terrorist groups. And that's what accepting this idea of white guilt and white privilege. Well, I've made a few Twitter posts on this. White privilege and white guilt are two terms very thinly veiled to accuse you of being a white supremacist. There is the irony of this, of course, is that you cannot change the color of your skin. These are people accusing you of being a white supremacist on the basis of the color of your skin, not your behavior, not anything you've done, not anything you said. You are considered guilty, and you can never be unguilty to these people. And they want, on the strength of the color of your skin, they want you to pay reparations and bow to other people on the basis of the color of their skin, not on the color, on the rationale of that they've suffered anything whatsoever, merely, completely, and totally on the color of their skin. They want your white-skinned people to bow down and give reparations to them on the basis of the color of their skin. That is virtually the definition of racism.
So, Mr. Brule, remember the video you made last year about Seneca Falls? The one that traces the origins of American feminism to the suffragette movement and how white women, particularly Katie Stanton, argued that she would rather die or cut off her right arm before she would see Negroes obtain the right to vote and govern over her? You see, the suffragette movement was an era in American history that all of this racism nonsense could have been nipped in the bud, and women could have been appeased by your forebears' discipline and discernment. After the North won the Civil War, Reconstruction started, and black men were actually able to hold offices and vote, and they seemed to be doing rather well. However, after just 12 years, the North decided to reconcile with the South, so they pulled out all of their troops. It was then that Southerners picked up their racist practices and habits all over again and created the Black Codes, followed by Jim Crow segregation. Reparations could have been made right then and there, and people could have gone about the business of being decent to one another. But no. White people had to show their asses and terrorize black people with the same amount of vitriol expressed by Elizabeth Cady Stanton. White men relented and capitulated to their wives, their mothers, and their daughters by giving them the right to vote in 1920, while doing everything they could to prevent black people from doing the same. I'm talking about intimidation through lynchings, ransackings, cross burnings, and bombings. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So black people, tired of their debasement, ushered in the civil rights movement. And it wasn't without its horrors. Black men and women, boys and girls, were spat on, tear gassed, hit with batons, and had dogs sicked on them, all because whites wanted to keep Negroes in their place. It wasn't until 1965 that the Voting Rights Act was passed and black people began to harbor hope. But then guess what happened? The death of MLK and the birth of second wave feminism. Now, it wouldn't have even happened in the first place, I'm talking about the birth of second wave feminism, if the white women that initiated it would not have been so envious and contemptuous of the gains that black people risked their lives for during the civil rights movement. But you see, these women were not to be outclassed. These white women of the women's liberation movement, with the full compliance of white men, took it all for themselves by declaring that they were the victims of patriarchy and needed to be classified as a minority group. Now, no matter the fact that white women are literally not a minority in number, owned slaves, raped and sexually assaulted those slaves, both male and female, and fully participated in lynchings and segregation. You white men, let them lie about it with a straight face to preserve the notion of Victorian female purity and white superiority. Yeah. All of the misandrist and bigoted misfits that couldn't or wouldn't fit in with what has worked for millennia, the traditional mononuclear family, copied the playbook of the civil rights movement and started Marxist lesbian communes. All of their hatred, self-righteousness, and venom for being misfits was transferred to black feminist misfits, and they both laid out the seeds for third wave feminism and political correctness. You see, the sad part of it all is that many black women and men resisted this radical trend and held them at bay for a while. But these radical bigots gained professorships and quietly began to become part of the knowledge production class. They wrote books, published papers in scholarly journals, appeared on television shows, became members of bureaucracies, and even began to hold political offices. Using shame and guilt as their primary weapon, they have been able to shame their way into prominence and affluence, and all white men did was stand back and watch it all unfold like helpless little old bitches. Now, there were so many points in history where all white men had to do was treat black men with common decency and respect, and to subsidize them in the same way white men were subsidized with FHA loans and the GI Bill. But you niggardly bastards just couldn't bring yourselves to do it, now could you? Most of you just dug in harder and refused to let go of your own racist bigotry. Here we are now with BLM, which is doing nothing more than employing the same talking points of white radical lesbian feminism. It's no different. They only add race into the mix and call it intersectionality. They even call black men one of the most despised, maligned, and vulnerable demographics in America, privileged patriarchs. This they do while taking money from donations off of black men's deaths, while thumbing their noses at us by calling us toxic and hypermasculine. Just look at BLM's website and you'll be able to confirm that they're nothing more than the black rendition of radical lesbian feminism, promoted, organized, and brought to the limelight by the CIA operative Gloria Steinem. This is why what you have to say is funny to me. Instead of promoting healthy black family life, you white dudes created ghettos through redlining, restrictive covenants, and blockbusting. Now black men have to clean all of this shit up. But most of us are too dumbfounded to even know what the fuck has transpired, because they have a natural propensity to protect and provide for women, and it's clouding their judgment. You see, all of this is your demographics' fault for allowing the damn lie to fester and to turn into a fucking nuclear disaster. And black men are the ones paying the price. You know why? Because shit rolls downhill, not uphill. This is why you can have two grab 'em by the pussy white guys supported by both the left and the right. Even feminists support Biden's creepy ass. Then you have the nerve to call black men racist while we are being occupied like foreigners in our own damn dilapidated neighborhoods by goons in uniforms that have no ability to show restraint or respect for our fucking humanity. I don't feel the least bit sorry for you motherfuckers. It's merely the chickens coming home to roost. You allowed this shit. Now it's coming back to bite you in the ass. And I hope it takes out a good fucking chunk too. You need to change your tune. And you need to understand what the hell has happened and your responsibility as men for allowing it to happen in the first place. You're the motherfucking patriarchs. You're the one that's running this shit. You're the one that's giving these women all these goddamn advantages. I'm sick of this shit, man. I'm done with this, man. Green Gorilla Channel. I'm out of here, man.